Hi everyone, welcome back to Beatles on Ukulele with me, Matt Stead. In today's lesson we're going to take a look at George Harrison's wonderful While My Guitar Gently Weeps. The song was written by George in 1967 whilst the Beatles were out in Rishikesh. It was recorded at Abbey Road in 1968 in August and September and finally released on the White Album. Interestingly, this one features Eric Clapton on lead guitar after George Harrison was unhappy with the sound of his own solo. I'm going to use this song to teach you a really beautiful way of strumming using open ambiguous chords and a particular technique which was made famous by the ukulele player Jake Shimabukuro. If you don't already know Jake's work, check him out on YouTube. He's considered one of the best, if not the best ukulele player on the planet right now. He's played with some incredible musicians and has recorded some absolutely beautiful pieces of music over the years. And funnily enough, the song that was his big breakthrough and went viral on YouTube, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, rather than the incredibly beautiful but difficult fingerstyle version that made Jake famous, we're going to use a strummed version, but use it to look at Jake's technique and see how he gets that beautiful sound for many of his songs. So let's jump right in and look at this brilliant strum pattern. If you've watched my beginners videos, you'll know that I'm not keen on people learning strum patterns as ups and downs and using arrows because it makes you tense, which isn't very good when you're playing ukulele. Introducing anxiety is not a good thing. But when you've got your basic strums under your belt, learning some of these really extended, wonderful patterns can really add something vibrant to your ukulele playing. So let's avoid that anxiety by making things really simple and thinking about things phonetically and in terms of rhythm. Once you're comfortable with your uke, what I'd like you to do is just place your fingers over the strings with your left hand. Don't press, otherwise we'll get a really interesting jazz chord, but just touch all of the strings so that when you strum with your right hand, we'll get a nice chucking noise. When I'm teaching and learning strum patterns, this is a really lovely thing to do because you really feel the rhythm of the pattern. There's quite a lot going on with this strum, so let's break it down into sections. First of all, I just want you to repeat exactly what I do, like so. You can think of this as down, down, up, but I'd rather you think about it rhythmically as walk, running, running. Walk, running, running. So notice the first strum is on its own, hence walk. Then we have running, running, two down ups. Walk, running, running. Walk, running, running. Try it with me. 2, 3, 4. Walk, running, running. 2, 3, 4. Walk, running, running. Fantastic. Next we're going to add one more bit. This is easy peasy lemon squeezy, just a single walk or a single down strum. I'll show you. So now we would have walk, running, running, walk. Walk, running, running, walk. If that's a bit too quick, let's just slow it down. Walk, running, running, walk. Walk, running, running, walk. Walk, running, running, walk. Let's try it a little faster now. Walk, running, running, walk. Walk, running, running, walk. Walk, running, running, walk. Fantastic. Now, believe it or not, we're halfway there with this strum pattern already, but what I want to do is just look at the technique of things before we learn the second half of the strum. Notice that I have my 45-degree angle with my uke. It's not like this or like this. It's right in the middle at 45 degrees. My strumming arm is leaning over the bottom lower bout of the ukulele, coming over the top, and there's a slight crook in my arm so that my arm isn't going to interfere with the strings down here. That's going to allow me to strum really freely. Also notice that I'm strumming where the body of the ukulele meets the neck. That is really important for getting a nice dolce sweet tone when we play. Next up, can you see how when I come down for my down strums, I'm actually strumming with 3 of my nails. You don't have to have long nails at all for this. It works with any length nail. I'm just allowing 3 nails to pass over the strings. What that does is it softens it up and it thickens the strums slightly. So rather than this, we get this. It's quite subtle, isn't it? But it just keeps everything nice and relaxed. On the up strum, I'm only really hitting the bottom 1 or 2 strings, i.e. the strings nearest the floor. Don't feel you have to drag over all 4 of the strings, otherwise that will slow this strum down. So down with 3 or 4 nails, and then just touch with the pad of your index finger for the up strum. So down, up, like so. Okay. Now if I put that together with this strum, walk, running, running, walk. 3, 4, walk, running, running, walk. 2, 3, 4, walk, running, running, walk. Next up, let's thicken up those 2 walks, the 2 strong down strums. You'll notice on our sheet that these are in red, so you can see they're a separate thing from the down, up, down, up. And you'll also notice a little accent marker over the top. That means we're going to hit this chord slightly harder or in a slightly different way from the rest of the strum. So you're already half the way there to thickening things up by using your nails on the way down. If you want to thicken up those walks even further and accent them, what you can do is as you drag these fingers down, just allow that index finger to point at the floor gradually as it passes out. That gives us what's often called a fan or a rolled strum. Often fan strums are these big kind of almost flamenco style strums, but we can do a very subtle one just by extending the index finger. So can you hear it? It's almost like a purring of a cat. It's really lovely. And we just do that on the 2 walks. The running, keep as normal. So that will sound like this. Walk, running, running, walk. Walk, running, running, walk. Walk, running, running, walk. You'll notice on my demo version that I really lean into those rolled strums because they just give a really nice texture to this strum. Walk, running, running, walk. Fantastic. It's quite a long and complex strum pattern, but the good news is the second half is really easy peasy lemon squeezy. There's no walks to differentiate from the runnings. We simply have am running, running, running. Okay, so let's break that down. We're going to start with an up. It just makes the rest of the strum a lot easier. So we're going to start with an up, and that's our and, if we think about it phonetically, okay? So and then we're just going to complete 3 runnings, 3 down ups, down, up, down, up, down, up. So rather than worrying about am I on an up or a down, just start with an up and then just say as you play, and running, 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 okay? And running, 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 am running, 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 am running, running, running. Fantastic. The difficult part is putting those 2 halves of the strum together and getting the timing right. Now, I agonised over whether to show you the beats, such as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, but I find again that's kind of introducing anxiety, a little bit like all those ups and downs if you obsess over arrows. But if you just think about it phonetically and copy exactly what I do, you'll get this in no time. So in slow motion, we've got walk, running, running, walk, and running, running, running. Okay, not too bad. Remember, the first part was walk, running, running, walk. That's easy enough to remember. And then the second half is I'm running, running, running. We put them together, I'll go nice and slow. Walk, running, running, walk. I'm running, running, running. Walk, running, running, walk. I'm running, running, running. Now there's a couple of ways you can approach this. When you do the second walk at the end of the first half of the strum, if you like, what you can do is you can leave your hand down the bottom so you're ready for the up strum that comes. I'll show you what I mean. Walk, running, running, walk. Imagine someone's grabbed hold of it or it's stuck in honey or something. And then I'm running, running, running. So that will look like this. The only problem with doing it this way is that that little pause after the second walk can throw you off your rhythm. So what I tend to do is keep this arm moving all the time, even if I'm not touching the strings. I'll show you what I mean. Walk, running, running, walk. I'm running, 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 walk. Running, running, walk. I'm running, running, running. Do you see how it becomes like its own little metronome? That way we've always got some arm movement and it keeps us in time. What I'd like you to do is try both methods and see which works for you best. In my many years of teaching, I've really come to realise that one size doesn't necessarily fit all. Try it both ways and see if one feels much more natural to you than the other. Now this is super, super important, and I feel like I say this like a mantra all the time, but really take your time with this. Go way below tempo and do it very slowly but in perfect rhythm. Don't be tempted to put the chords together with this strum pattern yet. Just do that chucking technique and practice this pattern over and over and over. And remember, if you can play something slowly, you can play it fast as well. It's just a case of practice. So what I recommend is not necessarily dealing with this song all in one go. You can obviously watch the video in one time, but in terms of practicing, try a little bit each day. And each time you sit down to practice, start your practice with a good 10 minutes of just putting this strum pattern together. Walk, running, running, walk. I'm running, running, running. You can take it as slow as you want. Okay. Whatever helps you to learn it. Walk, running, running, walk. I'm running, running, running. And remember to say those words out loud. Walk, running, running, walk. I'm running, running, running. And then just increase your tempo slightly each day you practice it. Walk, running, running, walk. I'm running, running, running. Faster. Walk, running, running, walk. I'm running, running, running. Eventually it's got to be really quick about here. Walk, running, running, walk. I'm running, running, running. Notice even at this speed, I'm still doing that metronome thing. My arm is still moving up and down in the silent strums. Now let's take a look at these really special chords that make the song so fantastic, and the way that Jake Shimabukuro phrases these when he plays them. Now if you're thinking, hold on a minute, I haven't got that strum pattern under my fingers yet, don't worry, you can work your way through these chords just by doing a single down strum on each one, just to learn the positions, the fingers, and have a listen to what's going on here. When you watch Jake play, you'll notice that he does a lot of these wide open chord voices. Open means that we're playing some strings that feature no fingers, so some open strings. And also notice that we have notes that are quite far apart in terms of range. Here we've got this low C as our lowest note. Going up to this high E here. So this is another way of playing a C chord, But notice that that wide chord voicing, because it features this high E rather than an E here, it sounds really beautiful. Not only do these chords sound absolutely beautiful, it makes some awkward chords easy to change between. And when you move them up and down the fretboard, they're really, really simple and easy to do. So it's a win-win, right? Jake often also uses chords that are slightly ambiguous. What do we mean by that? Well, if I stay on close cam and show you the first chord, a C minor, normally a C minor would look like this, with at least 3 fingers down, or you could even play it like this, with a bar chord. The notes that make up that C minor are a C, we're playing it here as a high C, an E flat, that's this third note of the C string, a G, and then we have another G up here, C minor. But if we have a look at the chord that we're doing, notice that it looks more like what we would often refer to as a C5. That's a C chord with this extra G note added. There's no E flat at all. That third fret of the C string has gone away. You might think, well, because that chord doesn't contain the flatted third, that E flat, is it really a C minor? Well, we can often think of these chords as an implied C minor. Often when we play chords on the ukulele, we'll drop notes. Some chords are even 6 or 7 parts in terms of the notes that make them up. Well, we can't play more than 4 parts on ukulele, so we have to drop some notes. And ukulele players over the years have dropped notes out of both major and minor chords, sometimes important notes that tell you whether the chord is major or minor. But because the next few chords that follow are all other forms of C minor, you'll notice it does have that minor chord feel. So a very unusual ambiguous C minor chord here. Now the important thing is to think about the fingers that we're going to be using here as well. It's really important that you use your ring finger on the 3rd fret of the G string and your little finger or pinky on the 3rd fret of the A string. Now, not only does that feel relatively comfortable because you've got these 2 fingers on the 3rd fret, but also it means that when we change to the next chord in a minute, it is so much easier. So let's just strum that C minor. Okay. When we put the full strum in, each one of these chords is a measure, and that's going to be a full strum, the full complex long strum, like so. That's your walk, running, running, walk, and running, running, running. Now, I'm not expecting all of you to have got that strummed straight away, because like I say, it's really difficult. So you can practice this either by just doing 4 down strums, or even just strumming each one of these chords once with your thumb. Either's fine. So there's our C minor. Now for the C minor 7, the 7th note in the key of C is B, and we flatten it to make a dominant 7th. Don't worry about the theory too much, but just know that putting this finger down is what turns the chord into a 7th. Notice that because I've come from using these 2 fingers, I can easily put that first finger down on the 1st fret of the A string. Just take my pinky little finger off. It's a really smooth, simple, lovely change. If you lead with this finger, you can actually put this finger down at any point as you play the first chord, and then it's ready for when you hit the C minor 7. C minor 6 features the 6th note in the key of C, this open A, and this is easy peasy lemon squeezy because you just take this finger away. Okay, so if I put those 3 together, I've got C minor, C minor 7, finger off for C minor 6, and then C minor flat 6. This is really lovely. We're going to play this A flat note, that's the flatted 6th. Just take your 3rd finger up and pop your 2nd finger down here. Isn't that a lovely sounding chord? Notice how smoothly I was able to do that, all because I'm anchoring with this 3rd finger. I can just take it up and pop that 2nd finger down. Okay, so I'll put all 4 of those first chords together, the first line. It will sound like this. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Great, huh? Beautiful sounding chords. Let's take it back to that C minor. Now, it's quite hard to see, but on your sheets for this B flat, there's a tiny, tiny number next to that chord shape, and that's telling you that we're playing it up at the 5th fret. It's a little tiny 5. Now, here's another trick. After you've done that C minor, take away your little finger, move this 3rd finger up to the 6th fret, and that gives you the position to build the rest of the chord around it. That's really important when you're moving up the fretboard, so try and keep a finger on one string if you can. Kind of scouts ahead and leads the way, look. Rather than having to take everything off and then re-find it up the fretboard. The next 2 chords, we're going to play a bog standard F chord and a bog standard G7, which is the 5th chord in the key of C. Makes you want to go to the start and do it all over again. So simple F chord followed by a simple G7. Notice that I can pivot on that 1st finger, changing between the 2. So let's put that all together after 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Yes, fantastic. Now, if you can put those chords together with that strum, you've got nearly all of the song. I think it's about 75% of the song. So what we'll do is we'll have a play through. I'll do it instrumentally and then I'll sing some words over the top so you can see how it would come together if you wanted to do it as a sung performance. Now, if you can already put that together with the strum pattern, give it a go with me. But remember, if not, as I'm strumming, you can quite simply strum over the top. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you can use this to learn the chords, even if you haven't got that strum pattern ready yet. Let's give that a go then, and let's play that through as the intro. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to C minor. G shape at 5. Back down to F and G7. Fantastic. It sounds really nice as it is, and you can play this as a standalone rhythm study or just as a really beautiful instrumental song. But if you wanted to put the lyrics in, I'll just sing them for you so you can see how they'll fit in terms of the timing. So we'll do the first verse in terms of the chords exactly the same as what you've just played. Okay, come in after 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I look at you, all see the love there that's sleeping. Still my guitar gently weeps. I look at the floor. Okay, taking us into the second verse. The second verse is almost identical to the first. We've got just one change in chord. We're taking an E flat chord up the fretboard. And what we're going to do is we're going to use exactly the same shape that we used for the B flat, but this time we're going to play it way up at the 10th fret. So we start the same as before, first C minor, followed by C minor 7, C minor 6, exactly the same as before. Move up to C minor flat 6, back to C minor. As before, lead with that third finger up to the 6th fret for B flat. And then for this E flat, you're just going to take those exact 3 fingers in exactly the same shape, but up at 10 and 11 like so. And you might think, oh gosh, how do I quickly move from that 5th fret up to 10 and 11 and find it quickly? Well, notice that your 10th fret has a gap of 2 before it. Your 7th only has a gap of 1 before the 5th, doesn't it, in between? Whereas this one, there's that gap of 2. You can also use your 12th fret to direct you. That will often have 2 dots on it on many ukes. So you've literally just got to take this G shape way up to 10 and 11 and play it exactly as you just did. Then we get a beautiful swoop all the way back to a normal G. And that's fantastic because it's exactly the same shape. So the last 3 chords are all G shapes. But this one gives you a B flat. This one gives you an E flat. And this one gives you a G. So let's try that verse 2 together. Come in with me after 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Up to 10 and back to 2. Did you notice that when you went right up the way to the 10th fret, it kind of, your hands crushed together? So you might have noticed that as I go up from 5 to 10, I'll actually move my strumming hand back a little bit. And that's for a really good reason. I don't want my hands to clash together, but also you can find if you strum too close to the other hand, it can make things sound a little bit thin because of the way the strings resonate. So just by dropping back over the sound hole, I get nice clear chord as opposed to up here. So just bear that in mind as you go up from the 5th fret up to the 10th fret. You can just move back a little bit. And then you can move back again for the G chord. Okay, let's try that once more together with that in mind. We'll do the whole of verse 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Up to 5. Up to 10 and drop back, and then back to the G chord. Yeah, fantastic. That's brilliant. For the chorus section, I keep strumming in exactly the same way. Remember, it doesn't matter if you're not there quite yet, but I just ease off a little bit. I play slightly lighter, keep the tempo up, but just strum a little bit lighter, and that just allows this chorus to breathe. So whereas I might be strumming quite hard, quite forcefully on this bit, when I get to the chorus, just lighten things up. Just don't push too hard. And you get a nice change in the dynamics, which is really, really sweet. And we've got a really common chord progression here, a 1, 3, 6, 4, 5. One of the most common chord progressions is just a 1, 6, 4, 5. This one has the 3 chord introduced, that form of E minor, just to add a little bit of melancholy and sophistication. So we start with an open C. Because it has this nice open E note in it, it really does sound like a major chord, as opposed to when we get rid of that open E and we just play the G. It has that more minor sound, even though it doesn't have the E flat. So this one feels a bit more majory than the chord in the verse, which is lovely. Then we drop back to an E minor 7. That works beautifully because this C note here of the C chord leads beautifully into the B note here of the E minor 7. Then we have an A minor 7. Really nice and easy, just take all the fingers off. Keep them hovering around here because the next chord we're back to that E minor 7. Then we've got what is technically an F add 9, but we've just notated it as an F chord just to keep things simple. And that's an F chord with this G note added. The reason that this one is played is that when we go to the next chord, a G7 sus4, which looks like this or this, depending on which fingers you use, we have that consistency of having that open G string. And that's really important if you want to sound like Jake. He does this on a lot of his chords. So rather than this, we get this. It's very subtle, but it makes for a smoother transition. And then you can just play a normal G7, like so. Okay, so G7 sus4, G7. If you prefer, you can use your third finger. Just pull it back like so. A G7 sus4 just takes the 3 note in the key of G. That's a B, G, A, B, this note here. And it turns it into a C, which is the 4th note, G, A, B, C. That's where we get the name G7 sus4 from. Isn't that lovely? And it just resolves backwards to that G7. Really lovely. So the first 2 lines of the chorus will sound like this. C, E minor 7, A minor 7, E minor 7, F at 9 or F. Do 2 of those. G7 sus4 to G7. Next section, almost exactly the same. C, E minor. Remember to ease off. A minor. E minor 7. F. Okay. Then this time, instead of having 2 measures of F, notice we've got 1 measure of F. Then we go to another E minor 7. Then a D minor 7, which is interestingly exactly the same chord as G7 sus4. The reason Jake calls this a D minor 7 is it's taken from this 2-5-1 progression, like this. But we're keeping that open G, remember? So we call it a D minor 7. It's interesting, you often get 2 chords with the same shape but different names. Really, it's all about where the chord comes from. Remember, the G7 sus4 is a G7 with this note suspended, turned into a 4th. And a D minor 7 looks exactly the same on the bottom 3 strings. And because we're not playing this note up here, because we're keeping it an open G, you end up with the same shape. The reason we distinguish between the 2 is it affects what other musicians are doing. For instance, if a bassist is playing a line based on the root notes, i.e. like a C on a C chord, an F on an F chord, on a D minor 7, they're more likely to hit a D note. And on a G7 sus4, they're more likely to hit a G note because that's the root of the chord. So even though they're exactly the same chord in terms of what we play, we name them differently. It's just a pedantic thing. Don't panic about it at all. So let's put the chorus all together. I'll sing over the top this time just so you can see how it scans if you are going to put the vocals in later on. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know why nobody told you how to unfold your love. I don't know how someone controlled you. They bought and sold you. And then you're back to another verse with every mistake, so you can see how it works. Those 2 sections make up the entire song. Notice that the intro is the same as the first verse, and the outro, you just play both verses 1 and 2 together. There's a fade out on the original. So what I'll do is I'll play it instrumentally one more time, and we'll have verse 1, verse 2, and a full chorus. And then afterwards you can decide whether you want to add the words in. That could take some practice because there's quite a lot going on here in terms of the complex strum and the chords, or whether you just want to leave it instrumentally. I think this sounds beautifully just strummed instrumentally. You really appreciate the beautiful sound of those ambiguous and open sounding chords, and then the texture of that really lovely strum pattern. And as always, remember, go slowly, take your time, increase the tempo a little bit each day, and be kind to yourself. This is quite a tough one to master, but it sounds absolutely brilliant when you do. And of course, I'll be back in another Beatles on ukulele lesson very soon. Take care everyone, and stay fab.